Okay, it's good to see you. My website's jasonburnspreacher.com. We've got 2 more videos. This video on Reformed Dogmatics, and then we've got a little Bible study which we're going to do. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you this book. It's Reformed Dogmatics by Herman Hoeksema. There we are. I don't know if you can see it there. Herman Hoeksema, right? So that's the book, Reformed Dogmatics. Now it says here, I see we've got it on the back here. Reverend Herman Hoeksema was, for almost 50 years, the pastor of one of the largest Reformed congregations in the United States. For almost 40 of those years, he was occupied the chair of dogmatics in the theological school of the Protestant Reformed churches. Over the course of those years, he developed his dogmatics, which, when it was completed, he hoped to see published. His death came, however, in 1965 before publication. So this is he lived in America, but he was he's really a Dutch Reformed theologian, and it says here, Reformed Dogmatics by Herman Hoeksema. Here is a thoroughly scriptural and reformed exposition of the faith once delivered to the saints. It is clear, systematic study of theology from the pen of one who spent 40 years in the chair of dogmatics at the theological school of Protestant Reformed churches. In the view of the author, there are 3 factors essential to sound dogmatics. The first is that dogmatics must be faithful to the scriptures, therefore thoroughly exegetical. The second is that fundamentally all dogmatics must be theologically construed and must therefore be theocentric. And third, that a sound dogmatics must be faithful to the Reformed creeds and to the dogmas of the Church. The reader will find these 3 factors throughout this work. So, in this Reformed Dogmatics, published by Grand Rapids, Michigan, the author writes this. The author's son writes this. My beloved father, the author of this work, had frequently expressed the hope that his dogmatics might be published. In God's inscrutable purpose, however, he never lived to see the day, for the Lord took him to his heavenly reward on September 2nd, 1965. That event also accounts for the fact that I am writing this brief editor's preface. Although the author has already produced several other works, among them this 10-volume exposition of the Heidelberg Catechism, I do not hesitate to call this the major work of his many-sided and busy ministry of almost 50 years. In the first place, this is true because the preparation of this dogmatics spanned more than 30 years of that ministry. During those years, the author occupied the chair of dogmatics in the theological school of the Protestant Reformed churches, and first prepared his dogmatics in outline form in the Dutch language. In fact, when the undesigned graduated from the seminary in 1947, only a part of the first locus had been prepared in its present form. From that time on, over a span of 10 years, the author produced the remainder of his English manuscript. The undersigned serving as his amanuensis. Hence, time-wise, this dogmatic was surely his major work. It is also the fruit of many years of instruction, study, and development. In the second place, and this is the chief reason, this is undoubtedly the author's major work because it is the clearest, the most systematic, and the most complete statement of his theology. Now, I'm not saying you'll agree with everything in here. You know, there are some issues that this theologian got into a bit of controversy concerning, I think it was common grace, whether there was common grace and God's love, the nature of God's love concerning the unbeliever, and I think also debates on double predestination. And you might not agree with some of this theologian's conclusions, but it is a very good, stimulating resource to have on your theology shelf as a pastor and as a preacher, and it will stimulate you to grow in the Lord and to grow in Scripture. Okay, you might not agree with everything he says, but you will be blessed by having engaged with it and reading it, and it certainly would be a helpful reference book for you in terms of studying theology. I'm delighted that I've got a copy, and I've been dipping into it every now and again. I dipped into it on the doctrine of hell and found it very informative and helpful. There's also a little bibliography at the back, and also there's a dictionary of subjects where you can look at, which is quite helpful, and also all the scripture references are at the back as well. So a very helpful resource to read. Okay, God bless you.